Welcome. In this session, we will do a quick comparative study of the four major civilizations across the world, and this has been really important topic for your competitive examinations. So prepare well, study well. Now here, Harappan civilization was one of the major ancient civilizations in the regions of Indian subcontinent, and two of the major cities which were part of Harappan civilization was Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Now don't get confused with Mohenjo-daro and Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia was a separate civilization. Now, again, important to understand, under Harappan civilization, the idea was there was opposition to any kind of idol practice, and therefore Shakti was the only form of god that was practiced and revered. The script was pictographic. The script hasn't been deciphered so far, and there has been no identification of the symbols and the signologies used under Harappan civilization. One of the major classic characteristics of Harappan civilization was its unique town planning. Now, under the town planning, the roads cut each other at 90 degrees. There was a well-established drainage pattern and a housing layout. The curves of the buildings were designed in such a way that the cars or the chariots, when they were moving, they could have a easy flow without any obstruction or any damage being caused to the construction which was done. So town planning was one of the marvels of Harappan civilization. Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro is one of the major cities. Then you had other centers across the region, for example Lothal, Rakhigarh, and some of the centers, it has been said, for example Rakhana district in Sindh has been one of the centers which has been believed to be destroyed and constructed nearly 7 times. So those are some of the key things that we must understand. Located on the rivers of Ravi, rivers of Indus, these were one of the major centers. Harappa was located on Ravi river. It was much bigger and had agriculture as one of the major practices. Coming on to the next was Mesopotamian civilization. Now, Mesopotamian civilization, one of the major features was domestication of animals in this civilization. The regions of Iran, Iraq were the areas where Mesopotamian civilization was established, and ziggurats was one of the major, we could say, symbol of the city. So city had this pattern god which were known as ziggurats, and then the script was known as cuneiform script. The script was later deciphered. Harappan civilization is one of the only civilizations where we say, of the major civilizations, where we say the script was undeciphered. Here cuneiform script was the script, and there were reeds of the pen that were used in the initial days, and later there was use of baked clay and paper as well. Now another important thing was the code of law. The code of law, now in the case of Harappan civilization it was town planning. In the case of Mesopotamia it was the code of law, and this code of law was known as Hammurabi code of law. So this code of law actually talked about the rules and the regulations that must be followed. Mathematics was at its peak, with 360 degrees being defined under a circle, 60 minutes in 1 hour. Then there was one of the important discoveries, which was the Pythagoras theorem, which was discovered in the Mesopotamian period. Also, the calendar was the lunar calendar, in contrast to Egyptian, which was the solar calendar, and Chinese, which was the unisolar calendar. So lunisolar calendar, that means lunar as well as solar calendars. So every 19 years they used to set their clocks in such a way that the remaining set their calendar in such a way that the remaining days were adjusted in the new year section, right? So Mesopotamia believed in lunar calendar, and some of the major cities of Mesopotamia include Ur, Nippur. Then you had Sumer, Akkad as some of the major cities under Mesopotamian civilization, and the two major rivers and their confluence was really important under Mesopotamia, and this was Tigris and Euphrates. Now important to note, all these civilizations flourished across the river channels and the major river banks. So again, really important. The next was Egyptian civilization. Now, Egyptian civilization was not known for its sun god. The sun god was called as Ra. The temple of Karnak is one of the important temples which had been considered as very, very auspicious under Egyptian civilization. Then you have the Sphinx, which was the half man and half lion body. Another important characteristics of Egyptian civilization was pyramids and the development of pyramids. The energy being stored under pyramids, and then it was important that under the Egyptian civilization there was no formal education for the girls were more inclined towards domestic and household help. However, the system was such defined that females had their share in the father's property. So despite being the fact that the roles were well defined, there was a very good status which was given to the female of the society. And we have seen the major developments in the Egyptian civilization across the Nile River. The next was Chinese civilization. Now, Chinese civilization is one of the civilizations which is believed that had never come to an end, and it was an everlasting civilization. The major areas were Huanghe. Now, Huanghe is also called as the sorrow of China. This was one of the major rivers across which the Chinese civilization developed. They believed in the worship of ancestors. They do not have any gods which they practice, but they definitely believed in their ancestors and ancestral. One of the very interesting things under Chinese civilization was the use of the shell of tortoise. Now, the shell of the tortoise was used, and then there were certain factors that were included under it, and fire was put under that. Now, when the fire was put, the cracks that developed on the shell of the tortoise were considered as an indicator of the things that would happen, and those were some of the ways under which the Chinese system actually flourished. However, the script was pictographic. Now, as we had seen, the pictographic script was seen for China and the neighboring Harappan civilization. However, Mesopotamia had a cuneiform script, and the script in Egyptian civilization was heliographic script. So different types of scripts seen in different regions. Now, again, in the Chinese civilization, the calendar, as we said, was lunisolar. Lunar as well as solar calendar was part of it, and ruler above was the key thing, because everything they believed was in the hand of the ruler. Ruler was the major commander. The king was the commander of the army and the chief state. Angwang was another term which has been used for tombs, offices being established under the Chinese civilization. So those are some of the key things that we have discussed under Harappan, Mesopotamian, Egyptian and Chinese civilization. The key things that you must remember from your exam point of view. So we have covered each of these civilization in detail. So every video is available separately on the channel. Just check those for more information and more detail. Thanks for joining in. Have a wonderful day.